Terribly balanced gun armory to some of the most greedy and neglected game mechanics I have ever seen. Those Who Remain never stops at making a visually stunning game miserable to play, with game reviews dating back half a decade ago all the way up to Ghost Killer's video talking about the mess of the game. I feel like now is a good time to cover the game's current state and the disastrous Christmas update's effect on gameplay by adding pay-to-win loot boxes and the developer basically scamming his audience, whether intentionally or not. I'm gonna say it now, the cow's already dead. YouTube has done this game till death, but death I shall dig it out and analyze what the hell went wrong. Chapter 1. A neglected junk pile comprising half a decade's worth of problems. Those Who Remain is a wave-based zombie shooter where players scavenge, camp, and survive. Zombies give money and EXP, use that money and EXP to get better stuff, use better stuff to kill more zombies, and deal with zombies getting progressively stronger each wave. Now, with a game like this, the question is now what the hell went wrong? It's simple. It's years of neglect, questionable updates, and greed. Fast forward another couple years, we have the almighty greed and grind infested update that was the Christmas event. When I say this ruined the game's reputation, I mean it. This is the part where it just feels like development just fucking gave up. Those Who Remain already had a terrible reputation with bland gameplay or bad updates, but at least those were related to the game. The Christmas update added insane grind, and paid gambling costs half a minimum wage paycheck. Remember this for later. This will be extremely important as to why this game became a fucking joke. Chapter 2. The weapon balance is some of the worst I have ever seen. Those Who Remain's weapon progression has been complete and utterly dog shit. You see half of these weapons, you don't see them, you're going to be using one gun and one gun only, the machine guns. The M60 and MG42 are obviously going to be powerful because they're machine guns. People will always use them because that's just how it is for zombie games in general. The real problem comes in when comparing them to the other guns. The Mosin Nagant gets 10 bullets per pickup. The M60 gets 100. The Mosin Nagant gets outclassed in almost every situation. Compare the M60 to something like the AK-47. It's an automatic rifle that gets 30 per pickup. The M60 gets 3.3 times more ammo than the AK. All the M60 needs is one pickup and you're good for like another minute. The AK needs several pickups to even reach 100 bullets. Most of the guns in the game give awful amounts of ammo, yet the strongest weapons in the game receive the most amount of ammo. Despite having one mag of reserve ammo, the M60 never fails at having the best ammo pickup rate in the game. Not to even mention the MG42 with 240 reserve bullets along with existing chambered rounds, totaling at 310 bullets in total. It has so much reserve ammo that it's become a strategy to just choose the most nonsensical spots, and with the MG42's insane reserve count, tap-frying it with several other teammates makes it possible to win with little to no ammo pickup, making the other weapons in the game be put into question. Chapter 3. The perk system is a mess. Those Who Remain's perks have been in a terrible state since like the very beginning. The perfect embodiment of the mess perks create is Speed Demon. Without this perks, you cannot outrun most zombies in late game without ease. The entire point of a perk system is to either change up gameplay or allow more strategies. Those Who Remain's perk system generally reaches neither goal. With some exceptions, of course, this whole sequence of perks are fundamentally broken and out of place. Some are reasonable, like reload speed, but perks like Guardian Angel make no sense. Adding reviving is a massive feature that needs to be handled well, yet in a teamwork game where camping and running in circles is encouraged, they gatekeep it behind dozens and dozens of hours of gameplay. Reviving should either be the fundamentals of a game or requires heavy sacrifice, and Those Who Remain is a heavy sacrifice to your mental sanity and will to live trying to attain this stupid fucking perk. Why is it gatekeep to high-level players instead of being a fundamental game mechanic with no requirements? I wouldn't know either. When you're choosing your perks, you're not choosing like half the shittier because they're just filler. What the fuck is Better Vision gonna do? See the threats that are gonna kill you when you're on life support? By the time this becomes useful, you're just dead. Increased clap bomb range is useless if you just place it in a good spot. There are so many more examples I can talk about that just have the same problems of being useless. The perks are just an illusion of choice, because you're just going to be using the same best perks because there is legitimately no reason to use anything else. The game lacks so much depth that perks like increased clap bomb range are utterly trash. If clap bombs got reworked, it might actually have some use, but I have yet to see a single soul praise this perk or even talk about it because nobody cares. This ties in with my other point that most of the stuff in the game is so outdated because the game doesn't receive impactful updates. Now, quality of life updates are fully welcomed any day of the week, no doubt about that. But actual updates focusing on fixing the base fundamentals are what really matters. Instead of keeping a well thought out balanced perk system, we instead have a speed inequality for people looping the map. Stuff like this makes the gap between new and veteran players way too far with practically nothing that can be made up with pure mechanical skill. It's not a total flatline, but all of this comes from a place of neglect and being outdated, becoming worse as more and more updates are added. Chapter 4: Numerous game mechanics that have no correlation whatsoever. Those Remain has so many game mechanics that don't work with each other, it's ridiculous. The game has a scavenge system for collecting ammo, grenade, gas mask, you name it. The problem is that the game also encourages camping, so you can't scavenge. Not to even talk about the perfectly great camping spots removed like the parking lot and lab, where zombies can go up and down the breezeways. Meanwhile in the background we have two conflicting ideologies constantly fighting each other. You're free to loot depending on the map and wave, but you need to balance out the features, else the looting part of Those Who Remain just doesn't do a whole lot. Speaking of not doing a whole lot, objectives are fucking useless. These things have existed for almost 10 years and their main use is for your teammates bored enough to do it, and maybe for the cash and EXP. Instead of lowering the timer or benefiting the server by changing map geometry, you instead get more health kits and ammo. Sometimes they don't even give anything. The only useful objective ever worth doing is a supply drop giving the 50 cal, and even that doesn't appear half the time. Despite having 6 objectives, it's more like 3 because half of them are literally Control-C, Control-V. It's the same thing but with a different name, and not to even talk about the fact that just how boring the objectives are. Run loot deposit, stand still, waste all your ammo for literally no practical reason. There is no map specific stuff, you just do nonsensical shit and then somehow this happens or nothing happens, so you just wonder why you even bothered to do it. Maybe lower the timer or decrease the amount of zombie spawns. It's such a joke that you add a feature from almost 10 years ago and not properly implement it into the game. With objectives trying to make maps more interactive, I need to talk about just how awful the balance between scavenging and defending is. Those Who Remain promotes this idea that you can search for supplies and use it to help you defend, but you don't do that. Instead, you're often just camping in one spot for like the rest of the round and not doing anything else. There's no dynamic waves or rest period, it's just the same linear bullshit spawn cycle that just utterly bores everyone. I could go on and on about the game's problems, but let's go on to what I think is one of the worst updates and maybe the biggest reason why this game died. Chapter 5: A Christmas Disaster with Holiday Greed and Endless Grind. For anyone that played the game, I think you just know how much of a disaster the Christmas update was. The developer, NIN, received so much shit because he released pay-to-win loot boxes and extremely grindy obtainment methods. At the start, the presents were only obtainable from presents spawning around the map. The odds got slowly better as you played more waves, but there's no pity system, so you have to replay the same RNG bullshit numerous times. What makes it worse is that it resets the moment the server dies or you lose. NIN later added a system where you can buy a golden present for, I shit you not, 3,500 fucking Robux. This game barely receives updates, and now when the first big update came along in literal years, the community response was to riot the Discord server. Like, you cannot make this up. The reasoning for the event being so disastrous was because you only got one roll of the dice for the wave. Each wave is 5 minutes, and you have to dedicate half an hour to even get slim chances of a golden present. There is no way to hurry up around, so it just takes forever. After numerous complaints, it was now made so your only semblance of having lasting pity was from collecting 100 silver presents. There are only 3 ways of getting a gold, and all of them are equally as horrendous as the next. Pray to Mother RNG, burn your entire wallet, or spend dozens and dozens of hours collecting 100 silver presents. The sheer mismanagement and tone-deaf changes were absolutely abysmal. After a lot of backlash, the player base finally experienced something good, being the extra present that spawns. But that still doesn't fix the main problem. You have a shitty RNG system. Your only system of pity is from collecting silver presents, which isn't even guaranteed to happen. At least now if all your drops for silver presents, you only have to play 50 rounds of Those Who Remain to reach the 100 silver present requirement. Just to show you how fucking stupid this still is, imagine this. Each wave is 5 minutes. Repeat 5 minutes another 50 times. In an older video, I calculated that it would take you 8.5 hours minimum, if this was before the update that added 2 presents. Even with the assumption of guaranteed silver presents, you still have to dedicate 4 hours to get 100 silver presents. We're not even accounting for intermissions, dying, you name it. What I think best represents this absolute disaster was the fact that redeeming your silver presents will now cost you 200 presents to buy another. Basically turning 4 hours and 25 minutes of gameplay into 8 hours and 50 minutes. Keep in mind that's with guaranteed silver present spawns. Not only is there a shitty system, it got lowered by 2 times the amount, and is still abysmally grindy and miserable to play. This just shows you how poorly mismanaged and out of touch this entire update is. The minigun which is obtainable from a 1% gold present drop, gets a reserve count of 2,000 bullets. The best machine gun in the game, the MG42, gets 225 reserve bullets and deals less headshot damage than the minigun. How does this not get any worse? The minigun is obtainable through a shitty gambling system, and the MG42 is obtainable from months and months of grind. Those remain is such a mess that all the problems it has ever been experiencing comes from years of neglect and a greedy developer's decision to screw over gameplay. There is no argument for the fact that a 3,500 Robux loot box should have been added in the first place. An update so rushed, not play tested, not have the community listen to that they actively ruin the game. At this point, I don't think it's a stretch to say that this game is being abandoned more and more. This game has so many mechanics added around 2018 and 2019 that have been neglected and not updated whatsoever. You may as well call the game a completed project. What I think is the worst part of this whole ordeal is the fact that NIN made the microtransactions 3,500 Robux. Then after getting hundreds and hundreds of messages complaining about the shitty price tag, that he then lowered it to 1,500 Robux. This effectively screwed over and pissed off everyone that bought it at 3,500 Robux. The moral of the story here is to not be a greedy and incompetent developer. NIN has done fuck all at fixing the Christmas event. This whole shit show would not have happened if there was actually communication, which doesn't exist. With that said, is Those Remain still worth playing? Compared to the other trash that exists on Roblox, it's not a huge deal to say that this game is still worth playing. Do I support development? No. NIN hasn't done jack shit to fix the game's old ass mechanics. It's going to eventually be about 10 years since perks were added, and almost none of the useless perks were ever modified or reworked. They are still out of the equation when you can choose literally anything else. Not to even mention just how greedy the Christmas event was. If you say NIN needed the money for development, you could not have been further from the truth. NIN made a fortune from that event. Where are the updates that actually matter? Fucking nothing. NIN is making an improvement by adding daily rewards, which barely does anything, but at this point you take what you can get. With all of this out of the way, I don't even need to rate it. This game is a PR and literal game disaster. There's almost nothing good to say, especially to the developer. I pray to aspiring Roblox developers or developers in general to never do what was done here. Please listen to your community, accept feedback, and don't let greed cloud your judgment. Take the lesson of Those Remain and run the opposite way it failed. And with that, that's about it. See ya.